Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Snap Decisions. I, of course, am your host with the most, your Snap DJ, and I've got a man whose name is awesome and reminds me of my wife's favorite singer. So Parry Manilow is here with me tonight, man. How are you?
Is your wife's favorite singer Barry White?
Yes, that's exactly it. It's a Barry, but it's, it's... I still tell this story today. My wife had me go to a Barry Manilow concert with her.
Okay.
And I think when I looked around, I may have been one of only 4 men in the entire audience that night.
He does have a way with the ladies.
Yes, he does.
This one, not so much, but the real guy, certainly. Thank you for having me on, Joe. Appreciate that.
Absolutely,
Happy to join you here today.
Thanks for coming on. Of course, Perry, tell all of my listeners, etc., where they can find you, as, of course, you are a content creator and Snap streamer. So where can they find you and what days?
I sure am. I am Parry Manilow across all platforms. Made it very easy for you guys. Lucked out with that, too. So Parry Manilow, you will find me mostly on Twitch, twitch.tv/Parry Manilow. I am also posting on Twitter often. I plan to get back to YouTube at some point. I'm just a little lazy when it comes to editing and thumbnails and stuff, but eventually I'll get back there. But those are the main 2 platforms you'll find me on.
Very good. Very good. All right.
As far as days, my schedule is also still a little bit up in the air, but there is one consistent thing I have, which is every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern, I host Marvel Snap Bingo. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later on, but that is my main big stream.
Yeah, I want to hear about that because I heard you on Glazer's podcast not that long ago, and you were talking about that, and he mentioned how he watched it. I'm gonna have to tune in. I've never seen it, so you're gonna have to explain that to me. I have never seen it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
But yeah, so we are going to talk some Snap. We're going to talk some other things as well, of course, throughout the show. And of course, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time. I know that streaming can take a lot out of you. But yeah, let me start off here. So as I usually do whenever I get a chance to talk to other creators, what brought you to Marvel Snap? I came from a card background. I was a big Magic player in like the 90s and stuff. And so I know there's a lot of people out there that came because of Ben Brode, because they were playing Hearthstone and things like that. So what brought you to the game?
Funny enough, none of those things.
Okay.
I played card games throughout my life. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I enjoyed the anime. I got into the Final Fantasy TCG because I enjoy Final Fantasy.
Yep, me too.
And it's mostly been for me just collecting. I like the collecting aspect of it. I like collecting. I like the artwork, and being able to just basically have like little collectibles. That was one of the aspects that appealed to me about those games. As far as Marvel Snap goes, funny enough, I'm a New Yorker. I was in New York Comic-Con a couple of years ago.
Okay.
They had this massive setup for Marvel Snap. It was this huge booth with all this cool stuff there. So I walk over to it because I saw all these the Infinity Gauntlet and the what's the cube called? The Cosmic Cube.
Yep.
And all that stuff there. And I was like, oh, what is this? A new Marvel game? Is this a new Marvel vs. Capcom game, maybe? Because I'm a big fighting game fan, too. But no, I found out, oh, it's a mobile game, Marvel Snap. Okay, I'm moving on. And then sure enough, this was in October. So about a month and a half later or so, I see this game pop up in my app store, Marvel Snap. I was like, oh, I saw that at Comic-Con. You know what? This actually looks a little cool. I'll give it a download. Why not? It was the Black Panther season, I think, that I started because I remember the movie was still in theaters, Wakanda Forever. And I gave it a try and I was like, okay, this is fun. Nice little mobile game. This is actually kind of deep for a mobile game. I'm used to very gacha heavy mobile games and you have your stamina that recharges after a certain while. But this was the first mobile game I had really played where I'm like, oh, I can just play this like an actual game. And it's pretty fun, and I get to have cool characters. And back then, I didn't know any better and thought Captain America was a good card.
Oh, yeah, sadly. Well,
I learned the hard way about that one.
Maybe he'll get the shield thing finally from next month, and it'll be a little bit better. We'll see. But
I'm still hoping on that copium there, but we'll see. He's my favorite Marvel character, so I was excited for that, to see him in there. And then I started just, really enjoying it a bit more. And I think it was around the Silver Surfer season where I was like, you know what? I'm actually going to start investing a little bit in this game. I'm going to start watching some YouTube videos and start following some people, some content creators, and that's how I kind of started. And from there, I think my first season pass that I bought was Zabu, which was a very good one.
Oh, the broken month, yes.
And yeah, that helped me. I believe I got Infinite that season for the first time with no, of course, Zabu back then, very, very broken compared to what he is now. Yeah, from there I would just, I started watching more videos. I was watching Cozy and Dexter and Kocha and all them.
Yep.
And I saw that they streamed, or some of them streamed, and I started hanging out in some chats, and you're like, you know what? This game is really becoming a big part of my life, and I kind of need to justify how much I'm playing it and how much money I spent on it. Oh, look at that. They've got a creator program. That's kind of cool. I've always wanted to stream and get into content creation. How hard could it be? Now, at this point, I was a mobile-only player. I didn't even have a gaming PC or anything like that. I was usually a console gamer, and I had spent a lot of time playing it on my phone.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, you know what? I want to do this. I'm going to invest in becoming a streamer. And I asked some friends, how do I build a PC? What do I need to buy? Watched a bunch of YouTube videos, brought a friend over to help me build it, figured it out. And lo and behold, I got it to work, and I started streaming. And this was around August 2023.
Okay.
We're in 25 now, right? Yeah, 2023. So been doing this for over a year now, and it's been going pretty damn well.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's how I got started with Snap and content creation.
It's funny you mentioned New York Comic Con. I was to one a while ago. That's an event to go to. I had a blast. I was like literally probably maybe 3 persons away from Stan Lee. Stan Lee was there signing, and I regret it because I should have waited in the line. But it's now, like you were describing about the games and stuff. I think I went when they debuted the Knights of the Old Republic Star Wars online game.
Oh wow!
And they had a huge display for that, like huge people playing it all over the place, and stuff. So yeah, that's cool. I'm in PA, so I'm
okay, not too far.
Not too far. I'm about maybe 2.5 hours away from Philly. So we're like southern, kind of like central southern PA. Okay. I live in a city called Hazleton, but we're like we're higher elevation up in the mountains and stuff like that. So that's cool.
Nice.
What part of New York?
I'm currently in Jersey now. I'm right over the GWB over in the Fort Lee area.
Okay.
But I was born in Brooklyn, spent some time out in Rockaway Beach when I was younger, moved out to Jersey for my teenage years into college. And then about like 7-8 years ago, I moved back to New York and have bounced around between the boroughs.
Nice. My wife's originally from New York and stuff as well, so I'm familiar.
Okay.
Used to go. Her brother lived on Long Island. He was out in Center Moriches, Long Island. So I used to go up that way and stuff like that quite often. So yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, how you liking all this cold weather, dude? I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
The worst part is I don't mind the cold so much, but my girlfriend and I have very different body temperatures, so there will be nights where she's got the heat on and I'm like in shorts above the blankets. Like it's the middle of winter. Why am I sweating in my own bed?
Yep.
Like, let me be cold, damn it. See, to me, it's easier to warm up than it is to cool down. You can always put more layers on. You can't always take more layers off.
That's true. So. Yes, that is true. And then I got to talk to you about Final Fantasy. I'm a big Final Fantasy guy. Ooh. I have played those since the original one came out for the old NES back in the day that we used to stay up like till all hours of the morning playing.
That's awesome.
I'm a big fan. The only one I never really got into was the online one. I tried it, but it was after coming from Warcraft, which was very, very easy to play. That one was difficult. Like everything that was involved in that, and the towns were even just like intimidating because it was hard to find stuff.
Yes.
What is your favorite? So have you played all of the console games?
I haven't played every single one of them.
Okay.
I have played 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 10, and 15. Okay. And I did play 14. I beat like the first part of 14, and then I didn't do any of the expansions.
Favorite one?
Favorite one is 6. Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah, well, obviously with Kefka. They need to, you know what? They need to remake that one.
I keep saying all the time. I said it recently on stream. I was like, if Square Enix wanted to just print money, just go ahead and get the team that worked on Octopath Traveler and Dragon Quest 3 Remake and just do it in that style, that and Chrono Trigger, take my money.
Yeah, I agree.
Just take it.
That one's up there with. I also have a soft spot for 10. I don't know why. I just like the story.
Yeah.
And I kind of just like the characters. It wasn't hard to beat that. I remember we went through it pretty quickly, but I don't know. I like the story in it. I was
10 was pretty groundbreaking too.
Yeah.
Graphically, the cutscenes were gorgeous. I remember seeing back on G4 TV back in the day. They used to show the Cinematech show where they would just basically show video game cutscenes. Before there were YouTube channels for that. And I remember seeing the graphics on that game. I was like, this is just gorgeous. Oh my God, how do they make it look this good? This is like a movie.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Very cinematic game. And I was an Auron fan. I loved Auron from the time I first saw him. I was so cool, dude. Sunglasses and carrying a big thing of jug of wine on his side. I'm like, dude, I mean, he's that. But yeah, that was I enjoyed that one. What do you think of the I mean, obviously 7, a lot of people love 7. That's like their favorite one. What do you think of the remakes so far?
So I actually didn't get to fully experience 7 until just a couple years ago. When I was growing up, I had a PS1, but I had a faulty memory card. There were times where I would just come back to a game after I saved it, and the next day, all the progress was gone. Just totally erased the memory card. So beating a long game like that was pretty difficult as a child. But I did recently play it again on my Switch, and it's great. It's a classic, all-time classic, of course. Visuals don't hold up super well, but there's a charm to it, and it's heavily carried by the soundtrack, I think.
I agree.
The 7 soundtrack is phenomenal. I do think the 6 one's a little bit better. I think there are some fantastic tracks in 6, and maybe hot take, I think Dancing Mad is a better boss theme than One Winged Angel. That's just me. I love me some Dancing Mad. I love the layers to it. You go up, the music changes with each level that you're playing. It's just more intense. Obviously, iconic One Winged Angel. It's a great song, but for me, if I had to pick one, I would go with that. But as far as the remake goes, I played Remake, the first one, and I enjoyed it. I think they did a little too much for just such a small part of the story. Midgar only is like an hour or two in the original game, and they stretched that to 40 hours. So they did a bit with it. And Tetsuya Nomura is involved, and if you know anything about him and Kingdom Hearts, which is another one of my favorite series,
great game.
He tends to get a little crazy with the story and a lot of unnecessary
drew it out,
stuff like that. So I'm curious to see where it goes. I didn't fully play Rebirth yet. I got it when it first came out, and I played for like a couple chapters, and I was really enjoying it. It was super cool. It seems like it addressed a lot of the problems with the first game, and then for whatever reason, I just fell off. And that was kind of around the time where I was like really getting into, I think that was when I was making my partner push on Twitch. So that kind of coincided with that, and I just don't have the time anymore to get super invested in these like 60+ hour long games.
100%. Yep, I did the same thing. Mine's probably still sitting in my PlayStation, and I got to the first big town, started all the missions where you had to play the card game all the time.
That's exactly where I stopped.
And that was it. I haven't touched it since. I tell everybody, I laugh about that because I'm like, and that's when I started getting into this, and I started doing the show, and I'm like, nope, haven't touched it in ages. My PlayStation's sitting there collecting dust, and it's like, nope. It was like, but you're right. Like those games take up so much time that you go through them, and you could end up. And the cool thing about them is you can get. I can remember, some of the older ones, like you were saying with 6 and everything like that. You'd get addicted to that to the point of where I'd be up sometimes playing those games till the sun was coming up.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, dude, like this is bad. But they're written so well. And you were talking about the music and everything. I would love to see. They used to have orchestral concerts of the soundtracks for those. Have you really?
It's called Final Fantasy Distant Worlds. I've been fortunate enough to go to 2 of them.
That's awesome.
They actually did the full opera from Final Fantasy VI with choir singers and opera singers. And they added a whole bunch of stuff to it too. They had like this whole storyline that wasn't in the game. They added to the actual live performance. I was moved to tears. It was gorgeous.
I can imagine. The music is phenomenal. I used to collect this. I think I still have a lot of the soundtracks from them. They were all like 4-disc soundtracks, I think, at the time. But yeah, the music does make those games. You're absolutely
Absolutely.
right. Yeah, it's
That's
so
one
good.
of the biggest things for me with a game. If you can have garbage gameplay, but if your
Yep.
soundtrack's banging, you're already at a 5 out of 10 for me. Like everything else is gravy. If you have a
Oh,
great
man.
soundtrack, I'm gonna enjoy your game most likely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. Music does go really well with games and stuff like that. Yeah, you're right. It does make the game that much better to listen to. So, well, that's cool. I love it. The game background. So now you said you started playing this. You got in. You said around the Black Panther season. You were
Yep.
saying, okay, okay. I was in during Miles, which I think.
That was like right before, I think. Or 2
Yeah,
seasons before, maybe.
yeah. I think I got in right before. It was after beta. I know because I know I didn't get into the beta.
Yeah.
Were you a Marvel fan prior as well?
Yeah, definitely a Marvel
Okay.
fan. I enjoyed the MCU. You know, I was there from Iron Man. Still remember seeing it in high school,
Yep.
all the way through to Endgame. Since then, I've kind of fallen off a little bit.
Yeah, kind of everybody I think kind of
Yeah,
did. Yeah.
but for that, I was definitely invested in. Read a good chunk of comics. Nothing crazy. I read some of the big storylines
Okay.
and a few individual comics. I enjoyed Brubaker's run on Captain America. That was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yep.
Some of the classic stuff, Infinity Gauntlet, House of M,
Yep.
a few others I'm forgetting probably.
Did you read Secret War, the newer one?
I didn't read the new Secret Wars. I actually have probably somewhere in this box right next to me the original run of Secret Wars.
The 80s run.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 80s run's fun. That was a big toy commercial. That was the
Yes,
reason
pretty
why
much.
they did that. Yeah.
That's why I was
If you get a chance, read the newer one because from what I'm hearing, the movie that's coming is going to be pretty much based on the 2015 one.
okay.
Maybe a little bit of the 80s stuff thrown in, but I think it's mostly based on that one.
Yeah, that checks
That
out.
was when they had got Emperor Doom dressed in white and all that kind of stuff. So it seems like that's where they're going with it, but who knows? It'll be.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I similarly like once they hit the moment with the Infinity War and then Endgame, I'm like, this is going to be really tough to follow because like, what do you do? Like you took the biggest story in comics pretty much with Thanos, and then you're going to try to follow that up and you lose two of your best actors that everybody was coming to see. So I was glad to see that Deadpool kind of brought it back last year, which was fun. I'm looking forward to the films this year too. The Captain America one has me intrigued. I have my tickets already.
Okay.
I know Chris Evans obviously isn't going to be in there, but I like the fact that they're kind of following up the original Norton Incredible Hulk with some of the characters in that.
Yeah.
And then Thunderbolts looks fun to me too. I'm excited for Sentry. I really am excited to see Sentry in a movie. And then how they, how it goes after that. Obviously, well, for me, Fantastic Four because of Galactus.
Sure.
But yeah, I am still amazed. Like growing up, I was watching a Spider-Man show on TV that even Stan Lee hated. It was so campy and bad. And that's what I never thought I would see all this stuff come to a screen back then.
Yeah.
Seeing Superman, Christopher Reeve Superman for the first time and stuff like that and how it elevated. But I never thought I'd see all this stuff. And once I saw, I tell people, once I got a glimpse of Thanos in that post-credit scene, I was like, oh my God, they're doing the Infinity Gauntlet thing. And I was like, this is amazing.
Yep.
So, and then of course the Endgame thing. Were you in a cool theater with Endgame when you went to see it? Yeah,
of course.
Wasn't that a great moment?
I am such a big fan of those like shared theater moments. Some people like, I need absolute quiet in my theater. I don't want anyone. No, if I'm going to a movie theater for a movie like that, I just experienced it recently with Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which was another. So opening weekend, people were going nuts. That's from my childhood. So I have some special attachment to that. And I love that. That's easily, both of those movies, easily top 3 theater experience moments for me. Yeah. There's so much in the world that pushes us apart and drives us apart. To have those moments where people can just all come together for that big, exciting stuff. I love it. Oh, man. Absolutely love it. Goosebumps.
I still watch YouTube videos with that ending, and I watch them see when he has a cap on your left, and everybody just freaks out in the theater, and I'm like, but it was so good, like, and you knew, like, when you're watching Infinity Gauntlet, you're like, they're not dead, they're all going to come back at some point, but you just didn't know how they were going to do it, And then when they got it in, that's why I'm kind of happy that the Russos are back. I trust them to do big stuff like that. Now there's actually a rumor saying they may be doing the X-Men stuff too, which is awesome.
Right.
But yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. I know that they lost some people and stuff, and how they're going to do that whole Downey is Doom thing is going to be interesting as to how they do that. But
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
I wasn't thrilled with that decision. It kind of seems a little obviously desperate. Like, oh, please come back and save this Robert Downey Jr. After all the interviews he's done saying, oh, I would never go back. And it wrapped up so perfectly and all that.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they can make it work. I do have faith in the Russos. They've made my favorite MCU movies. So I'm looking forward to that. I kind of just wish that they weren't greedy. And after Endgame, they're like, all right, we're going to give you time to miss this. We're going to step back. We had a great finale. We're going to take like a 3-year break. Maybe we'll throw a couple little TV shows here and there, but let's just take a break and then let's get this Fox stuff figured out and start it back up, just like we did in the 2000s with X-Men. Bring the X-Men into it, and then you start building up a new storyline with the X-Men. You get Spider-Man in there. They're not using their most popular characters. You know, it's incredible they were able to do what they did with effectively C-tier characters, in the original Avengers.
Yeah.
And they made them into household names now. Guardians of the Galaxy, household names. These
my God. Like, I've never read all the comics that I've read all through the years, and I've been reading comics since I was like 6 in 1975-ish or so. I've never read Guardians.
Yep.
I never really read Avengers much. Like, I was never, and when they came on the screen, I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Yeah. And I was never big. I was a big Spider-Man fan. So I read a lot of Spider-Man back in the day. But it's like, but you're right. Like the Guardians, I went to see that knowing nothing about those characters. And I loved it.
Yep.
And you're right. They took characters who weren't mainstream and they just look, James Gunn too. He's just great. I'm thrilled he's doing DC stuff. I think he's going to do a good job with it. I saw the Superman trailer. I thought that was cool. I'm like, all right, give it to him. He's a good dude. Disney's going to be upset that they fired him over something stupid. But they're going to be afraid that he went to the other side, I think, because I think he's going to do well there. But yeah, it's been fun. But I agree with you. I think that they oversaturated it. They started putting out stuff that was just, the Marvels movie was not good. A lot of that stuff, the Eternals, while I respect the material and I know where it came from, that's not watching the Avengers. That's not watching any of that. So yeah, but yeah, so it's cool. I think they're going to come back. We'll see how these movies do this year.
I hope so, because the better they do, the better we're doing. It's good for Snap if these movies and the MCU is doing well. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also cautiously optimistic about the James Gunn Superman, because Superman is my favorite character.
Okay.
Marvel, DC combined. I'm actually more of a DC guy than Marvel.
Yep.
And if this game was DC Snap instead of Marvel Snap, I fear how much more money I would have spent. So
that really bad DC game came out for a little tiny while, and it was
one after Dual Force.
Oh, it was so bad. Yeah,
I really wanted that to be a good game. I played a lot of those. There were physical deck building games made by that same company that made Dual Force.
Yeah,
so I was like super into this. I was like, oh, I want to make content for this. I want to go full send this game, and I played it, and I was like, oh,
yep,
this is not it.
Yeah,
and the market spoke, but yeah. DC and Warner Brothers have been making questionable decisions for quite some time.
Yes, agreed.
And I've been burned many a time, but I saw that trailer and the music kicks in and I'm like,
oh
man,
my God, I know.
Don't give me hope. Don't make me hope again.
When I saw Crypto come running, I'm like, oh my God, Crypto's in it. I'm like, see, that'll sell tickets alone just for the dog part of it. But yeah, I know, I hear you. Like, what did you? So, are you a Snyder fan? Because there's so many people who love, they swear by his stuff, and I never understood it. I'm not saying he's a bad director. He's done some great things. Watchmen was fantastic, but he just to me, I think Superman and Lois that just ended on TV did a better thing of Doomsday than his was.
Yeah.
And his spent all that money, but people swear by his stuff. And to this day, they're like hating on the new one because they're like, oh, Snyder was so good. But yeah, like I could never understand why.
I have such a complicated relationship with Snyder and those movies and stuff, because I really did, and I still do enjoy Man of Steel for what it was. I know it's not I know
Man
it's
of
not
Steel
a
was good.
traditional Superman movie,
Mhm.
and I know it's a different take on it, and I understand that. And I try to appreciate the movie for what they were going for.
Mhm.
Were there some dumb things in it that didn't make any sense? Did it just turn into some disaster porn in the end? A little
Yeah.
bit, yes. But at the same time, I understand what he was going for with, like, this is what would actually happen if someone with this level of power was
Mhm.
in our world,
Mhm.
and tried to have a more grounded approach to it. I don't think that's what I want from a Superman movie. I think what James Gunn is going for, with optimism and hope and
Yeah.
saving people and being the beacon that we as humanity should all strive towards,
Yep.
that's what I want to see from my Superman. And I know Superman and Lois seem to do a good job with that. I haven't actually seen it yet, but I've
It's
heard a lot of good
good.
things. Yeah,
It's really good. That show shocked me. Like
I got to
how
get around to it.
yeah, it's really good. I was surprised at how good it was. And some of the CW stuff can be really hit or miss. Like
That's
it's
why I didn't watch it, because
yeah.
I was into the Arrowverse. You know, I
Yep.
really enjoyed the first few seasons of Arrow, the first couple seasons of the Flash, and
Yep.
then much like Marvel, they kind of
Yeah.
oversaturated it with all these other
Yeah.
shows and stuff.
Yep.
And I was like, all right, this is a little too much for me, and I kind of checked out. And I saw they did the Superman and Lois, and it was kind of removed from the rest of the
Yeah.
CW verse stuff. So I'll check it out at some point. But
The
I
actors
don't
did a good
hate the
job.
Snyder stuff, and I don't love it. It's Batman vs
Yeah.
Superman is one of the most frustrating films of all
Oh
time.
my gosh, it was. I had so high expectations for
I
that
know.
because I was like, when I saw the highlights for it or the trailer, I'm like, okay, Dark Knight Returns. That's the first thing I was thinking. This
Yeah.
is it. This is Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. But then he tried to cram Dark Knight Returns in
Mhm.
with the death of Superman and slap it all into one film, and I'm like, yay! Like
Yeah.
it just didn't work.
No.
But no, I agree. I was very, very high on that film, super anticipating that movie. And when I watched it, I was like, this just wasn't good.
No. It had some
So
fantastic scenes. There was some great cinematography.
yeah,
I saw that movie in 70 millimeter IMAX when it came out.
okay,
And
yeah,
that scene with them in the rain and the suit
yep,
of armor and stuff, it was
yep.
gorgeous.
Oh, I'm
I was
sure.
like, this is incredible.
Yep,
But story-wise, decision-making wise,
yep,
like the fact that Superman dies in that movie and I didn't feel anything. This is
yes,
my favorite character of all time. And
yep,
I felt nothing when
yep,
he died. How dare
yep,
you? How dare
yep,
you make me feel nothing for my
yep.
favorite character when you kill him off a movie and a half later?
Yeah, and especially because that comic is so iconic too, even though it's as cheap as dirt. You can get it for a quarter now. But I
Yeah.
was like, when I was reading that and how each page was full page art,
Yes.
you could
Oh.
tell they were doing something special with that. And then when they got to the end and Lois is holding him on that
Oh.
spread page, I'm like, I was like, oh, I'm like, this is amazing. Like, and you were in, like
Yeah.
you got sucked in. And even then that funeral for a friend thing came out, and
Mhm.
then all the other
Mhm.
Superman. But I was stuck buying it because I wanted to see what happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, and you're right. The ending was very like, who cares? Like
I know.
yeah.
There was no build up to it. It should have been a monumental, not a dry eye in the theater moment,
Agreed.
like Tony Stark's death in
Yes.
Endgame. That
Yes.
was like, when people are crying more for Iron Man than Superman, you know
Yep.
you messed up.
Yep.
So
Yep. Agreed. Agreed.
I have a complicated relationship. The Batman warehouse scene in that movie, that is, I think, the best Batman's ever
Oh
looked
yeah.
on film.
Yeah.
So
That is Dark Knight Returns.
yes.
That would have been, and Affleck was perfect for that.
Yep.
Older Batman, big stocky Batman. That's
Yep.
how he was in the comics. So that was perfectly cast. And yeah, that scene in particular, because he's brutal in that comic.
Yes. They made him a murder machine, which I
Yeah,
didn't like, but
right.
as far as like the choreography and that warehouse scene and him taking all the goons, that's like straight out of the Arkham games. And I was
Yes.
like, oh, this is perfect. This is
Yep.
this is the best Batman fight scene of all time,
Yep.
hands down.
Yep.
And just Doomsday and Lex and
Yeah.
Wonder Woman.
They
And
just shoved everything in. It's just like, keep putting it in. Just keep throwing it in there. Doesn't matter. It's like,
yep, we got to catch
Yeah.
up to Marvel.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and there's a world out there, a different universe where DC had the movie success that Marvel had, and I want to live there.
Look, again, like I said, Chris Reeves, Superman.
Yeah.
Were they all good? No.
No.
Superman 1 was good. Superman 2 was pretty good, and then the
Yeah.
rest of them were horrible.
For sure.
And then of course Michael Keaton's Batman was,
Mhm.
after Adam West and stuff like that. So yeah, they were always, and that's the thing, like the Marvel went their direction because they wanted heroes to be more relatable, whereas DC's were kind of almost godlike.
Yes.
In a way, and you couldn't really attain that. But yeah, I like them all. There's been books over the years that I've read that I've loved, movies that I've loved, and stuff
Absolutely.
like that. But DC looks like they're, again, I love the Penguin. The Penguin was awesome.
I didn't see that yet, but I heard great things.
Very, very good. And
Yeah.
and I like Pattinson's Batman.
I did too.
Yeah, so
one of my favorite introductions to a superhero in any movie I've seen. That opening scene with him, with the voiceover and the subway, and they're going through the different shots, and you're like, oh, is he in the shadows? Where is he? I was like, oh, this is perfect.
It
just
really
nailing the atmosphere, nailing the fear of Batman and how he's able to operate in that city alone, just the fear of him. I loved it. So good.
Yeah, me too. And that was the one where they explored the detective more than they did in the other movies as well. They really never explored that side of it. So yeah, I was very, very happily surprised by that film. I liked it a lot. Reminded me a lot of the movie Seven as well. Very dark. The Riddler, of course, was very like realistic. It wasn't, some kind of joking around kind of character. He's very realistic. Jim Carrey. No Jim Carrey. Yeah, but it's awesome. So I have to ask you, and then we'll move on to Snap.
Sure.
Favorite Marvel movie, favorite DC movie?
Favorite Marvel movie would be, I mean, if we're going to talk just MCU, I would say it's probably Winter Soldier.
Yep. Okay.
If we're going
America fan, I figured that was coming.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, even regardless of Captain America, just a fantastic action thriller movie. So well shot, amazing choreography, super tight pace. You can just watch that movie in a breeze.
Yes.
It just flies by. And if we're going overall on Marvel, I would say Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi, just fantastic.
Doc Ock.
Yes, great villain. Alfred Molina did a fantastic job. Aunt May was wonderful in that movie.
Yeah.
Just the action scenes too. That subway fight is still incredible.
Man, the train fight. Yeah,
the train fight is absolutely incredible.
And I loved when Doc Ock threw the car through the window and everything just froze.
Yes.
And then you see him using the spider sense and he grabs when he's this slow-mo on that. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Just so great writing, great music, great direction, all of it. Just super good. Excellent film.
Yeah.
And as far as DC, I guess I gotta say Superman 78 with Reeves, the first one.
Christopher Reeve. The
first one. It's a classic. I haven't seen it too many times, but it's definitely left a big impression on me.
Yeah.
The John Williams score, I mean, you can't beat that. That is the superhero theme as far as I'm concerned.
A friend of mine said they're going to make poor John Williams do music until he like passes away because they just never let him retire. It's like he wants to retire. Nope. We bring him back. But yeah, no.
You can't beat the GOAT.
No, that's it.
You can't beat it.
The 78 Superman, I'll never forget because I saw it in theaters.
Right. I wish I could have had that memory.
Oh, man. And just going to see that and Star Wars, because Star Wars was right before it.
Right.
So my dad taking me to Star Wars and seeing Darth Vader on the screen for the first time when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and then seeing Superman and the tagline they used for that, "You will believe a man can fly." And honestly, when we went in there and when he gets when the first time you see him in the suit and he goes flying up to rescue Lois in the helicopter, I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever seen. But yeah, it was so good. McFarlane just put out a Superman figure that I have to get from that. It's got the cape. You can move the cape, so it makes it look like there's wind actually blowing his cape and stuff like that. I saw it. They advertised it at a Toy Fair or something, but I'm like, oh yeah, I need to get it. But yeah, I agree. I still have to watch that Christopher Reeve documentary. They had
I've been meaning to watch that too.
Me too. Yeah, me too. He seemed like a genuinely really good guy.
Yeah,
and it was a shame what happened to him. Yeah. So, and his son, oh my gosh, his son looks so much like him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, great choices. It's hard to argue with either one of those.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we blabbed about that for a while. Let's get into some Snap here. We'll talk some Snap with you. So
we're on a Marvel Snap podcast?
Well, I think so. Yeah, it might be. I don't know. It could be a movie podcast or a comic book podcast, whatever.
I'm good with all of
it. Me too. But yeah, let's talk some Snap. So let me just go over. So obviously we're wrapping up this season.
Yep.
So let me get your thoughts. What are I did my audio pod a little bit earlier, and I put out my top. I did a top 5, and I went 5 through 1 of the ranks of the cards that I thought were good this month. So I'm going to have you do that as well. So what are your rankings of every card this month? Now, I think I started, of course I'm not going to remember, but my number 5 was Ares, and only because he's made for a certain type of deck. It's not like he's going to go in anything else other than like a Surtur list or something like that, or something like they call it big dumb idiots type deck.
Yeah.
Then I went Moonstone as my number 4. And again, not because she's a bad card, but just because she's relegated to just kind of one thing. She was good with that Fantastic, or with Mr. Fantastic for a while, and the Onslaught stuff. And then I went, I'm going to forget some, I know. I went, 1 was, of course, Iron Patriot. I went 2 at Victoria Hand, and then the third one I'm forgetting already. Bullseye, thank you. Yeah. But yeah, so what are your thoughts like on the cards for this month? And obviously Ares, you probably didn't have a big chance to play with him, but yeah. So what are your favorites from the month?
I had a good amount of games with Ares today on my stream.
Okay.
I think I played almost 30 games with him.
Okay.
I did wind up having a 70% win rate, and this was all top 1K infinite, so some good competition. And I would say that Ares is nice in that deck. He was not working for me. I probably got him to go off like 35% of the time just because my luck is terrible. That being said, I still managed to win 70% of the games because that deck has Cosmo and it has Shadow King in it, and those cards are very, very good right now. So I was able to steal a lot of games with those cards. The deck itself just works very well. It's pretty straightforward to play, and you kind of know when you have to stay in and when you have to get out. So I would agree with you, though. Ares seems like the most skippable card this month, especially if you're not a fan of that archetype. You're not really going to be putting him in a whole lot else, at least from what I can tell. Mill does seem like an interesting archetype with him as well.
Yeah.
You get a bit more power in there after your opponents pretty much have nothing left in their deck. So I do like that he is another... That's kind of the thing Mill struggles with, is you can get rid of their cards, but how are you going to beat the power that they do have?
That's exactly. I've been playing KM's Mill deck that he showed on his end, and it's okay. But you're right. If you get up against someone who's going to high power you at the end of the game, you're done. Like this card literally is such a hard matchup because of the high power they have. Arshem, because of the high power they throw out, it's a really hard match. So you're right. It's hard to compete.
I was actually very happy that deck was so popular because I was running Hela a lot this weekend. I found this deck from Butt out there.
I've seen the Butt one,
with Maximus and Ronin and Samurai and all that. And I was cruising with that deck. I climbed all the way from like 7,500 all the way up to top 700 now. So with mainly that list, and I was just feasting on those mill decks. I'm like, get me to Hela quicker. Go ahead, get me to Hela quicker. I'll draw her every game. Thank you. And it was just sometimes just Hela and Gore alone is enough to win you a game. Her being 9 power now and bringing back a 21, 23 power Gore. All those mill decks running all those on reveals, Yondu, Cable, Zemo, Gladiator. Every one of them's like an on reveal. So she just gets huge, or Gore gets huge in that matchup. But yeah, Ares, I would say number 5 for sure. I think I probably have the same rankings you did, although on a personal list, I would have Bullseye number 1. I'm a huge discard fan. And Bullseye has made one of my favorite decks, the deck that I kind of created way back in the day when Ravonna Renslayer dropped, which I called Vampire Slayer. The idea behind that deck was you have Ravonna Renslayer in your deck, you're running Arnim Zola, so you're able to play Arnim Zola on turn 5 on your Dakin or your Dracula. You get 2 copies of them, you Modok on the final turn, clear your hand out, and you have 2 big Dakins or Draculas. And I've since refined the list over time. I added Supergiant in there to hide your Modok on turn 5. I've had Scorn in there. I've had Grandmaster. I've been iterating on it over and over since that came out. And now it is actually legitimately viable. Things like Frigga have helped make it more consistent. Bullseye giving you another option to discard all the shards that you get in your hand from Dakin. Funny enough, on that very podcast you heard me on with Glazer, he was talking some heavy smack about both Bullseye and Dakin. He called Dakin an F tier card, and I took it personally. I was Michael Jordan, and I took it personally. And I made sure, I'm like, all right, Glazer, I'll show you that these cards are good. And every single video since, you watch it from that podcast on, slowly inching towards, Bullseye is actually pretty good. Dakin a lot better than I expected. Just every iteration, I loved it. So Bullseye personal favorite, but I'd probably have him around 3. Moonstone, I think, is 4 right now, but has the potential to continue to rise.
Yeah, I
I
could
think
see
that's
that happening. The better ongoing cards come out for sure. Yeah.
exactly, especially this season. I think there'll be something there, maybe with a little
Yep.
Captain America, Sam Wilson, Shield stuff. Maybe
Mm.
I'm just not. Maybe I'm coping. I don't know, but I think she
That's
will
going to be
be.
fun to see, man. The shield
Yes,
going back and forth. I don't care if
I
the
hope it
deck's
has a
good or
cool
not.
animation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, me too.
I hope it
Yeah,
has a cool animation. I hope it's got the sound and all
yeah,
that. So I'm holding out hope for that, but I think she'll get better over time. Pretty much anytime, just like anytime a 3-drop comes out, you're like, does this go in Surfer? Anytime an ongoing card with 1, 2, or 3 comes out now, you'll be looking at Moonstone. So
yeah,
a good card to invest in.
yeah,
And then Victoria Hand, fantastic card,
yeah,
super good. But you can't beat Iron Patriot. That card is just value town to the max.
man.
You can put it in pretty much any deck. It's the
Yep,
premier 2-drop right now. So
yep,
I think that will probably be a nerf candidate once the season is over and they can stop selling the passes.
yeah.
And I don't know what they do to him. Maybe they limit it to maybe not 3 cost reduction or 4 cost
Mhm.
reduction. Maybe it's 3 cost reduction instead. Something like that. But
Yeah.
I imagine that card will definitely get adjusted because it's pretty busted.
Yeah, I agree. I was playing a game earlier today and I got a 110 Spider Woman. I'm
Yeah.
like, dude. And I mean, you wreck their whole lane with her too. And it's just a 10. You're just going to win that lane most of the time. And it's like, yeah, it's sick. But yeah, so we have an OTA coming
Yep.
in a couple days, Thursday. So do you have any predictions that you think, like for me, I was trying to think of really, really, good season pass cards. I would be shocked if Galacta doesn't get hit. They didn't yet, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
they might have just waited for a little bit after that first one. But if Galacta doesn't get smacked on this one, I'll be very, very surprised. Because she's just really good, dude. I mean, she brought Surfer back. That combo with her and Brood is like sick, and like it just. But is there anything you can see, and for obviously for the deck that you like too, like for discard? Because look, discard is really, really good. That's pretty much why people are playing so much Red Guardian, which is another card that could end up getting nerfed as well, because he hits that Dracula, that really limits that deck. But yeah, like what any predictions on what you might think might be coming with OTAs this Thursday?
So I'm glad you mentioned Red Guardian because I've said multiple times across my stream,
Okay.
Blazers Pod, other places, I would happily pay 6,000 tokens to get him removed from the game. I can't stand that Russian bastard, man. He's attacking my poor vampires. Anytime I play Morbius, anytime I play Bullseye, Dracula, just ruins my day. And it's just, he's so annoying.
Yep.
I understand he's necessary because this card's strong, but let this card be strong. Is it that bad? I mean, it's not clog at least, you're able to play your stuff, Gambit stuff aside, but
God.
I wouldn't be surprised if this card does get some sort of touch here. Maybe Morbius goes down to like a -1 or something. Maybe I hope he doesn't go up to a 3 cost. That would be really unfortunate.
Yeah, that'd ruin the curve.
That would definitely ruin the curve.
Yeah.
It's strong. It's very counterable, though. There are plenty of ways to interrupt this card. Cosmo, Eliath, big time ruiners, of course, Red Guardian. So I think it's fair. I don't think it's over strong. It's strong for sure. It's definitely a strong deck, and it's nice to see that there are now builds of this card that do different things. You still have your traditional list with Dracula and APOC, and you're just trying to get that as big as possible and win that way. But you also have now these smaller ball lists with Meek making a resurgence, which I thought was cool. You see him get pretty big. Collector, Victoria Hand, buffing the Swarm. You're seeing Moon Girl in some of these lists now to get the double Scorns, the double Dokken shards. Of course, Dokken, one of my favorite cards, so I'm glad he's getting some play. And then you have these Hella lists coming back now. So it's nice to see that there are different strategies within discard as an archetype, but I wouldn't be surprised if something gets adjusted there. I agree with you on Galacta. I think she probably gets maybe a point or 2 shaved off of her. 4/6 is pretty damn good for what she can do.
Yeah, it is.
Especially if you get her out early with a Zabu or a Psylocke, that's pretty much a snap condition. I would agree. Same with Doom 2099 as well.
Yeah.
Another strong card. I don't think either of them are busted. We've had like Miss Marvel when she released was busted. There have been other 4-drops out there that were just way too strong. And it is nice to see 4-drops getting some love again. For the longest time, 4-drops were pretty much unplayable after the buffs to all these 3-drops and 2-drops. And when Zabu got nerfed, it's kind of like, how do I make a 4-drop work in the deck? But now they've finally started balancing that a bit more. I do think we are in one of the more balanced metas that we've seen in some time. I know at the high level, people complain about move bounce a lot.
Yeah.
That's a deck that has largely gone unchecked for a while. There was the US agent hit a little bit, which was making its way into some move bounce lists. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see that get touched up a little bit. Not quite sure what they would do there. Maybe, I don't know. I really don't.
I think Dagger is too strong.
Yeah.
I think that's too strong. I think that should get something, because that just, man, that goes over the board a couple times. You've got a huge card.
She gets very big very quickly.
She does. Yes. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised she goes back to maybe they buff her base power a little bit and she goes back to +2 per card. I wouldn't be surprised Vulture even goes back to +5.
Yep.
The +6 gets a little crazy with him too.
Yeah.
But I think that deck is also balanced by the fact that it is very big brain. You need to know which, or else it could end up in catastrophe. So not the easiest deck to play. I've tried playing it a bunch. I've had moderate success with it, but it's balanced by the fact that it's high skill level.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, on Thursday we have an OTA, and it usually does change the metas and stuff like that afterwards. So
yeah. And we were just talking nerfs there. I think there are also several buff candidates as well. The fact that we are now in a meta and a time where card generation is one of the strongest decks out there, with Iron Patriot and Valentina and Victoria Hand and all them. White Queen still can't find her way into a single deck.
I know, right? What a character that she's such a great character too. They have to, that's definitely in need of a buff, big time.
White Queen can absolutely use a buff. We've seen other Series 1 cards get buffed recently, and it's just something as simple as Mr. Fantastic. That one little change where on the surface really doesn't seem like a whole lot, but all of a sudden he's viable and in meta decks. I would love to see something like that for White Queen. I'd love to see something for Colossus. It's another card. Iconic character.
Great character.
Fan favorite X-Men. I used to play him in the Konami X-Men arcade game all the time.
Yes.
That's my sub alert. Is that freaking sound effect is my sub alert. So I would love to see Colossus get some love. I'm always going to say Captain America until he's good. So I hope he gets some love. I think he will with Sam Wilson, but we'll see. And I want to see some more buffs. I think we're in a meta where not too much needs to be nerfed, and we can afford to buff some other things instead.
Yep, agreed. Buff Galactus, by the way.
Buff Galactus. He'll definitely be getting some love. The Fantastic Four.
Once the Fantastic Four film comes out, I heard that. What was it? Somebody was saying, I think it might have been Rez Snapper that made a video of that they could do, instead of doing a Fantastic Four season, which I think they will, because there's so many other characters that they could put in that.
Yeah.
But he mentioned doing like a Herald season. I'm like, oh my God, that would be amazing. Because then I'd get a Galactus card back. I'd get a Galactus variant for sure. And I'm like, okay, I can, that'd be awesome.
I could see that.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be very cool. I'd be I tell the story to this day. Almost everybody I talk to on here about how I pulled Galactus, and I when I got him, and this was when they first put the big bads out. So I opened the thing, got him, and I looked at the card and I thought, this card sucks. Why would I want to blow the other locations up? What would I do? Until someone used it against me and they did the Spider-Man trick, and I'm like, oh, that's what you want to use it for.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, that's pretty horrible.
What a character arc for Galactus, right? Like one of the initially comes out, not seeing too much play, then they figure out the combo and like, oh, okay, this is fun. This is crazy. This card goes wild. And then the most toxic thing in the world with the Spider-Man combo with original Eliath.
Yep.
God, I can't believe that card released the way it did. What a broken card that was.
I was licking I was like, when I saw that, being a Galactus player, and I saw that Eliath data mined, I'm like, I am going to kill it with that card. But
to the point where you would just see Wolverine on the board, wave come out, retreat, I'm done. Okay, next game.
Yep.
That was bad. And now I feel like he's in a spot where if you see him and you get Galactus, you're like, oh, look at that, Galactus. How cute. It's fun now. He's had quite the arc.
You actually really need something weird to go your way in order for that to win. Because it's hard. It's hard to follow it up. I was playing a deck a little bit ago. It was kind of a Guardians list with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just get, you get the priority and stuff like that. And then I remember I'd finish it off with a Negasonic. So I'd have Galactus there, and then I'd play the Negasonic. They'd play their card. More often than not, they're going to put the big card out first, even if they put a second card after, and you just blow up the card. So, and yeah, but you're right. It's so hard to make it work now that you really have to think about how you want to do it.
For sure.
But it's
Far
still
more
fun.
consistent. Oh yeah. Fun card now.
Yeah,
I think it's in a healthy spot.
Yeah,
that being too strong is just not good for the game. Anything that takes away player agency so much that you feel like the game's over before the final turn, that's just not good.
Agreed. Yeah. Yep. I agree 100%. So I got to talk to you about this. Obviously, we had the big shutdown.
Yes.
We had the big shutdown, and completely unexpected. I mean, I know the whole thing with TikTok happened, and all of a sudden you see snaps down, and I'm like, I remember playing. Thank God. I don't know what made me do it, because usually when I'm done playing the game, I close everything out of my phone. I left it up. And I don't know what made me do it. And then I realized I can't shut my phone off now. I've got to leave this go. And I can't shut it off, or I'm not going to be able to play anymore. What were your thoughts when that happened? And then obviously we got the compensation coming, which I didn't expect it to be that good. When I saw what they're giving out, I'm like, damn, it's pretty good. And you know what? It's something I think that they needed to do. With all the stuff going on about people upset about card acquisition and new player experience and this and that. But yeah, what were your thoughts on, obviously, when the game went down, and then what were your thoughts on the compensation?
So funny enough, I had a similar situation to you. I was streaming the day it happened, and I finished my stream. And when I'm done with my stream, I will typically get up, go get some food, chat with my girlfriend. And I decided to leave Snap open that day. And I come back, and I raided into somebody else, and I saw them all talking about, I can't play Snap anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? It's working just fine for me.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Did you not close the game out? And I said, nope. So I just kept my computer on for the next 2 days. I was like, all right, I ain't shutting this down. Turn off sleep mode. We're just keeping Snap open. We'll up those Steam hours. That's fine. And I was able to be one of the people who was still streaming without a VPN when that happened. So that was pretty wild, but I benefited in the short term as being one of the few streamers. So that was cool.
That's good. Yeah, a lot of people coming over watching you, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
that's awesome.
So that was wild, though, just to think like, oh, this game is gone all of a sudden. Now I knew it was going to come back. I wasn't one of those people freaking out like, oh my God, I spent thousands of dollars in this game. My collection's gone. And that is something that can happen. Like that is the contract we sign when we play these digital games. At any point, they can just be gone. That you don't own anything. So
I go back to a game called Marvel Battle Lines that I played, and they did exactly that. I got into it a little bit. It was not cheap to play. You had to buy packs of cards that were super expensive. And then all of a sudden it was Black Panther. The movie was coming out. They were saying, yeah, we have a Black Panther set coming out the next day. Yeah, we're done. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's the worst feeling ever, but you're right. No, we don't. It could happen. Yeah.
It could happen at any point. And I think that is a big wake-up call for a lot of people. And I know that definitely turned some people away from the game, which is why what they did with the compensation was so well-deserved, well-earned, well-executed. They had some pretty rough public opinion as of late. It was just very poor timing with when they went on their holiday break. And there was card acquisition problems and seemingly no solution in sight, and a whole lot passed by. Nothing really new or exciting. They had High Voltage come back. That was the big thing. And that all coincided with Rivals coming out. And I know they're totally different games, but a lot of people saw Rivals and how much content you were getting for free, too. The fact that they are adding new characters for free every 6 weeks or something is pretty wild. You have the season pass that carries over from season to season. A lot of things just done right from the games as a service model. And then you look back at Snap and you're just like, I don't know about this game. I'm not feeling too good about its future. And they were fortunate enough to use this unexpected road bump and really capitalize on a lot of the free press they got, which I think will benefit the game in the long term too. And they over delivered, and good on them. They really needed a dub, and they got one here. They're going to be cracking down on some people using exploits and cheating too. Another dub there. You got the Galactus wheel now every single day with better rewards. Big dub there. You got the extra tokens now from the random series 4 or 5 card. Big dub there. Card acquisition improvements, series 3 being easier. So all of this stuff is bringing positive momentum, and I'm feeling much better about the game than I was a couple months ago. The fact that they're self-publishing now hopefully will free them up for a lot of better decision making and monetization stuff. So I'm optimistic about that. And it really seems like they saw the gravity of the situation and realized they needed to do something. So I'm hoping they sustain that. I really do, because there does seem to be more buzz and excitement about the game now. So I'm glad they did that.
Yeah, same here. Like I was when I saw it, I saw the headline that's up there now. When I saw it, I'm like, oh boy, I was almost afraid to read it because everybody, like you were saying, and obviously Twitter's such a downer.
It really is.
But I was like, it's the worst. But yeah, all they were saying, oh yeah, we're gonna get 100 credits and that's gonna be it, and we're gonna get the, But when I saw this, I'm like, damn, like that was really smart on their part to do that. And even give the overseas players something too, which they didn't lose it. But now if you were playing through, you probably saw a lot of the same things I was playing a lot more overseas players than I had ever played, obviously because United States was down. But yeah, it was something to live through. But you're right. I think they took a negative and made it into a positive. And you're right. I'm again, a lot more positive look going forward for what the game is going to have. So you mentioned high voltage, you mentioned the diner, right? These two other modes that we've had. Of the two of them, which one do you like better and why?
I enjoyed high voltage more. I like the idea of Deadpool's diner. I like the higher stakes, makes matches more intense. I like the idea behind it. But high voltage to me was, especially the first go around, and I got a bunch of flack for a post I made saying that if you're running Alioth and Cosmo in this mode, you're lame, because this is a fun first mode.
Yeah, I know. True. You know what? Yeah, I got Electrode. Somebody sent an Electro over to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, oh, I was so mad.
So I fought back, and I was playing Machine Gun Gambit. I'm like, all right, you want to play this game? You're gonna have no cards on the board at the end of your game. How about that?
Oh,
So, but even before that, I was playing all these wacky combos that weren't possible before. It was just a creative playground, and there was no stakes attached. So it's like, let's encourage people. Your digital points are not on the line here. Your rank is not going to get affected. Go out and try these cards you wouldn't normally play. Like, that's what I tried to really focus on, especially with my streams, because you could just play the same meta deck over and over again. Alioth, everybody, sure. Zola Alioth was something, but during that mode,
oh man,
just getting Alioth in 3 lanes on the final turn, that was brutal. But even that, like, all right, at least you're doing some fun stuff that you can only do in this mode.
That's true.
So I liked it for that, and of course, then eventually it gets figured out, and there's the definitive best deck for it. But I really like the stuff that encourages creativity. Anyone can just play a net deck and go with that, and tried and true. I like winning is fun, but this game has so many cool, unique things you can do, and being able to explore that in high voltage, I thought was really cool.
I agree. I liked high voltage better. The diner was just too well. The first diner, it just wasn't delivered properly. Like, I remember I was watching It's Guest Gaming stream, and I got to see his video before I started to play it. So I saw that he was shocked that they didn't put it out earlier, thinking that hey, everybody should see this. And then so I went into it kind of already, but even watching him play, and he buzzed through it, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be super easy. And then I got in, and I wasn't seeing any of the bots that he was seeing. And I'm like, this is not easy. And then, of course, they touted it as the solution to RSM with the card. So everybody had to have it. And it was such, and then I'm thinking the newer one, I'm thinking, okay, King Eitri, who cares? Like, who cares? It's a who cares card. No one needs it. But honestly, it was worse. And I don't know how that could have been. Like when I got in playing that, I'm like, people are playing with like more sweaty decks than they were playing with in the first one. And I was shocked. So, but high voltage, I agree. It seems like, well, I'm glad they got rid of Goliath in there and now you can't use it anymore in the mode.
Yes.
It should be, it's a fun mode. Everybody, if they're playing consistently, is going to get the reward. They just are. And so, but I do agree. And I'm kind of hoping Diner gets a rest for a little while and they figure out something else to do. Because it's just nice. You got a ranked ladder. You got even Conquest to an extent, like especially if you're in Infinity Conquest, you want that border, you're going through it. Even that's a little on the nerve-wracking side and stuff like that. So it's nice to do something where listen, if I just do the stupid missions, I'm going to get it. Yes. So I'll go in here and, like you were saying, mess around with anything. Who cares what deck it is you play? So, but I agree. I hope they had mentioned. Obviously in that, that whole debacle of a roadmap thing that we got last year with I still remember coming home from work, sitting down, putting IGN on and thinking, okay, here it gets. And I'm watching this. Honestly, it was hard to watch.
It was so bad.
Horrid. When they got to that part where they were doing Mario characters on a whiteboard, I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, this is horrendous. I can't watch this anymore. And then finally, you saw the announcement come on their Discord. Yeah. And I'm like, they're not even going to be there.
Nope.
But so they obviously they mentioned draft mode. What is something in this game that you think needs to happen going forward? Obviously, we all know that the card acquisition thing, they're working on that.
Yeah.
We're going to hopefully get something with that soon, but game mode or something else, and if it is a game mode, what is it you want to see, come to fruition this year with Snap?
This year, as much as I would love to see it, I don't think we're getting draft mode this year. I've seen some interviews recently where they talked about draft mode. Ben Brode was asked about it in a recent interview, and his answer did not seem like draft mode was happening soon. And I get it from a business perspective, giving cards away for free compared to selling them. I get it, but you can't play them on ladder. I do think they need some sort of trial program for the cards. And Arisham does kind of do that to an extent, and that's why I usually recommend it as a card that newer players should get, because you at least get to experience some of these cards that you're not going to have for a while. And anything to keep you playing the game, to keep you enjoying the game, I should say, is good. If you're a new player, one of the things I always say is just find something you enjoy playing. Doesn't matter if it's great or meta, whatever, just find something that you enjoy playing. That was me with Discard. Discard wasn't always good, but I really enjoyed playing it. I like the play style, the characters, the animations, all that kind of stuff. So I think that is one of the biggest things. But I think they need some sort of way to get players to be able to actually play these cards, get a feel for them, and decide, okay, is this worth my very valuable resources? Now, maybe this gets lessened with the card acquisition improvements, but if they don't have a significant improvement there, I think some sort of mode, whether it is draft or some sort of rental system. There's other games out there, like Multiverses comes to mind. The free-to-play Warner Brothers.
I remember that,
They have a system where, for all the flaws of that game, one of the cool things they do is you have a set rotating list of characters that you can play for free. And every week or so, they'll rotate, and there's 4 new characters that you get to play for free. And that will say, okay, this is how I want to spend my resources, because I've actually gotten my hands on this card and these characters. So seeing something like that would be cool for the Series 4 or 5 cards to help get players their hands on it. But as far as game modes, I would love to see a 2v2 mode. As a content creator, I think that would be such a blast. Getting a team up with your friends, going 2-on-2. I don't quite know how it would look. I don't know if you need to have more locations, or you swap back and forth per turns, or like maybe you draw from each other's decks or something. I don't know. But I think some sort of 2v2 mode would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool. Draft mode, I was talking about this with someone else that was on the show a couple months ago. I do believe, because coming from Magic and playing draft and Magic and stuff like that, it is going to be hard to do with a game that doesn't have that many cards.
Yeah.
Because you know, and if you're trying to, like, I think Glenn was talking about, if you're trying to draft like a discard deck, it's going to be so hard for you to do because you're just not, you might see one of them and then you might see one more, but then that's it. Then you got to have it. I don't know. I honestly don't know if they have enough cards to get away with it. So I could see that they may be having some trouble instituting that. But yeah, 2v2 would be cool.
Yeah,
it'd be something different to do, and that could even get worked into almost like what Gunny's doing with Snap Judgments. You can work that into tournaments and stuff. Have 2v2 tournaments. That'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, I would love that. And if not 2v2, I think some sort of I maybe it was Newverse holding them back from this. Maybe we'll see a more focused presentation from Second Dinner on the competitive side of things.
Yeah,
but I would love to see some Second Dinner sponsored tournaments outside of just the Conquerors events they do, so those really haven't been it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
I would love to see, and I'm someone who has casted tournaments and been a part of tournaments in person at this place in Brooklyn called Brookland.
Nice. Yeah, I heard about that one. Yeah, that's one where Super Tech God and all those guys are at that, right? Yeah,
I was there with them and casting alongside, and the energy there was just so great, and having the face-to-face aspect of it makes it a totally different atmosphere, and a whole set of different things you have to take into effect. Like you can just see your opponent sitting right across from you.
Yeah,
you have some mind games going on there, facial expressions, all that kind of stuff. So I think there is a lot of RNG, but I think they could, if they wanted to, make, and it is weird that most games you look at them, there's a casual ladder and there's a ranked ladder. And the fact that doesn't really exist in this game is a little frustrating. There is infinite ladder, of course, but I think a bigger focus on competitive Snap where like certain cards are banned or there's maybe like a rotating similar to what they did with High Voltage, where there's like a different deck building consideration that you have to make for a tournament or something like that, a ban system, a side deck, something like that. I think would be really cool. And I'd love to see them put some more support behind that. Yeah,
I'll tell you, that's one of the things I miss from Magic. Like we would play weekly tournaments in a shop. You're sitting across from your opponent. I went to some big ones. I went to one in New Jersey that was for like 15 grand or something like that. And the place was packed. And you'd go and you'd sit down. But it was cool, though, because even if you'd lose, you had your binder afterwards. You're like, hey, what do you got to trade? Blah, blah, blah. You go around, you meet people, you talk to people face to face. I was kind of surprised. Now, I wanted to go last year like really badly, but I couldn't go. But SnapCon, I was kind of surprised. Even something like that, why not get behind that?
Yes,
like that. Like Felicity does such an amazing job with that, and everybody who I had on my show that had been there last year that I talked to said it was an amazing time. And I see. I think that's big for games, man. Like even if they don't want to get into like the hardcore competitive things that they do overseas, that's okay. But, you know, to have people be able to intermingle and stuff like that, and the stuff, like I said, that Gunny's doing, that's how I met some of the people who I had on my show. Because I didn't know a lot of those people before, and I met them through playing the card game and just chatting after the card games were over that he was holding. So, yeah, it's such a big part of a card game, and I agree with you. I think that's something that I wish they would do more of, and things like that. If they ever do another one in New York, I'm gonna have to drive up. I want to take part in something like that. I think that'd be fun.
Such a good time. I was at SnapCon. I actually was casting the finals of the tournament with guests, and those were some of the best Snap matches I had ever seen.
I'm sure
Husky and KX and Gnome, or not Gnome, Woody and Revis, I think might have been up there. I forgot who the other person was, but yeah, that top four was so good. The high stake. That's the thing. When you have high stakes and you have storylines, you have entertainment. If you can harness that and get people invested in the storylines of players and have actual stakes attached to this, actual money involved, where you have these intense, sweaty matches at the highest level, that's what people want to see. And I think the game would benefit greatly from it.
No, I had heard nothing but good things. I had Felicity on the show a little bit before that she had it. But yeah, I need to. And I think Super Tech God may have said something, and I think that they were even thinking about maybe moving the location around a little bit for it. So who knows? Maybe they'll bring it to New York. That'd be awesome.
I've heard some rumblings of that as well. We'll see if it comes to fruition, but that would be real cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I wouldn't have to take a plane. I could drive. That'd be cool.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a big thing with games like this, and I think that that's something that I know I would enjoy, especially coming. Now we have character mastery coming soon, which I'm looking forward to. I think that's going to be just a fun little thing. Yes, it's a cosmetic type thing, but I just think, a card that you've split like every which way. I have every single Galactus card. Every single one of them's been split to infinite. Like they're all so. I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be something fun. And that's I think that's coming with the next patch, if I'm not mistaken. So it should be the patch in February, I think they were saying, or initially shooting for, but we'll see. But yeah, again, just little things like that I think make such a big impression and a big deal on players. What is something now, I know we've touched on this a little bit, but what is something that if you could do it, what would you fix about the card acquisition? What's something you would do to fix card acquisition if you could?
I mean, they've kind of addressed it a little bit with the extra tokens in the Series 4/5 protection.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of the worst feelings. Anytime you got that 1,000 tokens, it just felt bad.
Yep.
2,000's better. I would have liked it to have been, half of what the card is worth. If it's a Series 4, it's 1,500. If it's a Series 5, it's 3,000. They kind of met in the middle there with 2,000 for any one of them, so that's cool. I think having some sort of, well, not even a trial system necessarily. I kind of like the idea, and I think Cozy and Alex have talked about this before, but having sort of like specialized paths for newer players.
Yeah.
Where you can kind of target the cards you're looking for a little easier for certain archetypes. It's like if I was starting out, oh, okay, I'm playing this card, so I got to target Dracula and MODOK and Meek and whoever else, right? And you have either a higher percentage chance of drawing those cards, or you just like pick a path you go down and you'll get these cards first. And then you can go either a different path, or you can just get general cards as the further you go along. Yeah. Some sort of implementation like that, I think, would go a long way.
I don't think that'd be that hard to do either, because I could even see like the graph style of it. Like if you pick destroy, whoop, you're going to go up this path. If you pick this one, you go up this way. Yeah. And you're going to pull all that. Yeah. I don't even think that'd be probably that. Now, I mean, I'm not a game programmer, but I don't even think that would be hard to do.
Yeah. There are definitely certain sets of cards that go well together, and you should be able to target those if you're enjoying that archetype.
Yeah, they were doing it for a little while in the shop, because I remember they had like a Shuri bundle with Shuri and this and that. So it can be done. And I think you're right. I think that would be a good thing for them. Obviously, they have to do something for like returning players and stuff to the game as well. People that go away. Yes. I just had Blue Train on from Born to be Cosmo was on my show, and he had mentioned, he took a break, and he said, and then you come back and you're stuck, because you're going to miss 3-4 cards. If you take a longer break, you're going to miss all the missions and stuff like that. That's another thing I think they need to do. They really should make it so where, hey, if you have to step away for a week or two, you should be okay to come back and just kind of jump back in. And it shouldn't be like a...
Yeah. The fact that you can't really like bank missions and rewards like that, the fact that you really do have to, if you want to get the max value, you have to play like 3 times a day, pretty much.
Yeah.
That I think... The FOMO is very strong with this game.
Yeah.
And if there was a way to, even if it is something like the season pass rolls over, or you can just bank more missions this way, if you have to step away for a week, you're not missing out on those. There are a lot of free ways to get resources in this game, which is something worth noting. You can very effectively be a free-to-play player in this game.
Yeah.
The season pass, of course, goes a long way, but between this wheel now, you have alliance stuff you're getting rewards for, you're getting your daily credits, you have the gold pass, you have the missions, you have conquest, you have when they do diner and high voltage, you have login rewards. So they are giving plenty of things away for free. It's just there needs to be less FOMO, I think, which is bad for business, so I get it, but
they just did this. They have this thing going on too. That they have the other thing going on where we're going to win the card. We're going to get the cards from the X23 and the null and all that.
Yeah, that's great. So everyone's getting X23 and null for free. So that's cool.
Yeah,
that's big.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that look, I know a lot of people were down in it. There have been probably a lot of people who may have left the game. I know people put out videos saying I'm done, and I get it. You're always when Pokemon came out,
Yep, that was a
and
big
I'm
one
not.
too.
I was never a Pokemon player. In fact, I'm just the opposite. Pokemon killed my Magic Store tournaments, so I have a vendetta against Pokemon.
A little bit of a grudge there, yeah.
A little grudge, yes. And but look, I get it. And sometimes competition is good. Look, I do a wrestling show. Competition breeds better things from the other companies. That's just a good thing.
AEW was one of the best things to happen to WWE,
yes,
right?
agreed.
They had to step their game up.
Absolutely, they did.
Yeah.
You had to. And so I think that that's a good thing. And so for Snap, it should be a good thing, I think, for them too, moving forward. And yeah, I'm personally, I always try to keep it as positive as I can in the show. You seem like a guy that does that too.
Big
And
time.
and it's I think Snap's in a better place now than it might have been about 2 months ago. And I'm hoping they keep going, and I'm hoping that we get some new things and things come out and things like that, and we get to see some good stuff on the horizon, because I do enjoy the game. I mean, hey, I gave up my PlayStation for this, so
yeah, seriously, I spend more time on this game than anything else. So
right,
I want it to succeed more than anything.
Yeah,
I owe my streaming career to this game. I would not have gotten involved in this without it. So, and hopefully with Rivals, with the movies coming out, maybe there's just renewed interest in Marvel.
Yep.
And that just gets people to Snap.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I mentioned that to Glazer. Glazer was doing his pod the one night, and I think in the chat I was saying, look, it just stands to reason. Last year, all we had was Deadpool. That was it. Yep. And we had some series. We had, of course, Agatha. We had a couple series thrown in there. But this year now, you've got 3 films. You've got a whole bunch of TV shows that are coming on. Daredevil, which everybody loved.
Yep, that's going to be a big one. I really hope they capitalize on that.
They just, I had it on my pod today. They just announced that was rated, because they do ratings a little bit differently overseas for shows that they do. They rated that their hardest R rating overseas in England. So, and it was funny because D'Onofrio came out and said, you guys like the bloodiness and stuff of the first one and the violence? Well, you ain't seen nothing yet. So he obviously was right.
Right.
But yeah, I love that on Netflix, and I think that's going to be amazing. But you're right. I think that is only going to lead to this game getting more eyes on it. Yes. Because when Marvel is big, Marvel properties do well.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, look, I've kept you a while. I don't want to keep you any longer because I know you just came off of a long stream and stuff like that. So
all good.
Thank you so much for coming on. I love the conversation.
Yeah.
And it was great. I'm going to have to talk about bingo. I want to hear about bingo.
Sure. So yeah, that I was going to mention.
Yes, I want to hear about bingo.
So that I got very fortunate. I was trying to think of, all right, what can I do as a creator that someone else isn't doing already?
Yeah.
Because anyone can play a deck and talk about it and do that. And that's what most people are here for. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm someone who enjoys the interactivity of streaming. Like the whole point I wanted to stream because I enjoyed interacting in other people's Twitch chats and that communal feeling. So I wanted to try and provide a place that people can interact and really feel like a part of the stream. And I came up with the idea to implement bingo into a stream. I had watched a YouTuber, Jack's Films. I'm not sure if you're familiar. He's been on YouTube for a while. Yeah. And he did a version of bingo, not Marvel Snap, of course, but he was doing a bingo on his stream where he would be going over reaction YouTubers and how they're basically content thieves for the most part. Like they're just uploading other people's work and giving very half-assed, low effort reactions to them and making so much more money than the actual creators of the videos they're reacting to.
Right.
And he aimed to do like a bingo game, like, oh, someone forgot to react during this video, or they got up from their chair and left while the video was playing. And I'm like, that's a cool concept. I like the idea of playing bingo with your stream. Is there a way I can implement this to Marvel Snap? And I've been doing this for a while now, so it's gone over several iterations, but it had started out with just, okay, I'm going to come up with a list of the most commonly seen cards in a game of Marvel Snap. Okay. And if you see this card and it's on your bingo card, you mark it off. And people liked the idea. They thought it was different and unique. And from there, I thought, all right, this is a lot of work to keep up with what cards are relevant every week, with how quickly the meta changes. And then I had to change out the bingo card and get all new assets and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, let's try and up the game a little bit. Instead of cards necessarily, how about things that happen in a game of Marvel Snap? Your opponent destroys a card, or your opponent snaps, or they win all 3 lanes and get a casserole, or they have a god split on one of their cards. And that is really where it started taking off, because there were a lot more creative ways to make spaces for the bingo card. Things that were a little more evergreen that you don't have to change out necessarily every week. And I started doing that. And I eventually added a channel point redemption to my stream where the audience can request certain spaces for bingo cards.
Oh, that's cool.
And now I've got it to the point where it's pretty much a well-oiled machine. I used to use a website called Bingo Baker, where it was a manual thing. You had to click on all the spaces yourself. I just had it like in a window on my overlay and would have to manually update it myself while I was playing the game. And I would be distracted half the time and playing poorly. And I was like, all right, I got to find a way to automate this a little bit. And I found a Twitch extension called Stream Bingo, which is really cool. You can actually implement it all into an extension on either the desktop or mobile, and it made it a lot more friendly for mobile players too, where the spaces will automatically highlight when I call them. I got a couple friends to help me out. Big shout outs to the White Wayne Brady and Lufku.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, Lufku's great too.
He was on my show a little bit back. Yeah,
there you go. Look at that. Yep. So yeah, great kid. Super helpful calling the spaces for me, so I'm able to actually just focus on the game, and it's become a bit of a hit now. I have people just in my stream before I even go live, just waiting to play bingo.
Bingo. That's awesome.
It's really cool, and it started as a way to just basically do a giveaway. Like whoever wins gets entered into a giveaway. And now it's just become kind of an enjoyable thing that people are like, oh, we don't have to play for a prize. I just want to play bingo. Like it's fun.
Awesome.
So I do that every month, every week rather, every Monday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern. And then on the last Monday of the season, I have the big bingo night where all of the winners from the whole season get put onto a wheel, and I give away season passes for next season.
Oh, that's cool, man. So, I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a fun time. And we've gotten some wacky spaces. There's a lot of debate that goes on. We've got all these like weird things. Like one of the most recent spaces that I was just arguing about the other night was it's called Tasty. So the opponent's variant has to contain food. So we had the food fight variants come out recently. There's some other ones like Spider Ham with the donut and Jeff and all that. And I got into a big argument with the chat over the squirrel, because the squirrel has an acorn in it. And they were trying to argue that the acorn is food. And I got people sending me screenshots from Google saying, look, it's called food. So it creates some funny moments too, even just outside of the game.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm glad I was fortunate enough that people enjoyed it, and it's kind of become a bit of a staple in the community. So
it's very cool when you, and it's one of the reasons, like when we started our wrestling thing back during COVID, one of the things that I wanted to, and again, like yourself, I wanted to differentiate myself, because there were big wrestling creators out there that do watch alongs all the time, but I wanted to differentiate it because I'm thinking, one of the things I've noticed is they can't notice everyone. There's too many people in their chats.
Yeah.
So, and to this day, that's I'll shout out names, I'll call, and I'll interact with everybody. And that's one of the things I like to do the most in the pod.
Yeah.
It's just a great thing to do. And that's obviously sounds like what you're doing there. You're interacting with your audience, and they're always going to appreciate it, because you can't just go to any stream and get that.
Yeah.
These really large creators, they don't have a way to do it. No. Because there's just so many, even if they have a chat going, their chat's going like this, and it's shooting up the screen. You can't even see. So that's awesome. I love that, man. I'm going to have to, so you do it when? Mondays?
Every Monday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern.
I'll have to tune in. I'll have to stop over and try to play some bingo.
Yeah, come by. It's a great time. Even awesome. And not everyone in the chat plays, but it's just entertaining to watch too.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea, man. I know what Glazer was saying. Glazer was like, yeah, I don't always watch. What did he say? I don't always watch, but I'm playing all the time, or something like that. Or
I don't always play, but I'm watching all the time. So,
playing. Yeah. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I love that. It's a great idea, man.
Thank you.
Well, look, I appreciate your time tonight. Again, I know you're just coming off of a stream. Thank you so much for joining me. And you are obviously welcome to come back anytime. I love the discussion. And again, one more time before you head out, tell everybody when and where they can find you.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me, Joe. I could have talked for another hour and a half about Final Fantasy alone.
Yeah, and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I don't want to keep you that long. I know it's I know it's getting late. So
I appreciate it. I'm starting to fade a little bit, but the conversation was fantastic. Love the company. I am Parry Manilow. I am Parry Manilow across all platforms. You will find me mostly on Twitch a few times a week, but every Monday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern for Marble Snap Bingo. Come by, free to play, chance to win a gold pass every night and a season pass at the end of the season. So come through for that. Twitter as well, or X, whatever you want to call it. And that's about it. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of the show.
You know what? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
real quick. What this is going to be airing tomorrow, right?
No, actually, I'll have this out probably in about an hour if my data is good. So yeah,
excellent. So one last plug here.
I
do some casting work on the side when there are tournaments available and stuff.
Yeah,
I've done the Brookland events. I was at SnapCon. I've worked with Tucker and King of Canada on some tournaments as well, and I will be casting again this weekend for the Crown. The Crown is a open to the public tournament. We are still accepting signups, so there's links and information on my Twitter and the Power On Gaming Twitter, which is the team I am part of, run by Super Tech God. So I will be casting those games on my channel on Saturday, the 1st. It's a $500 tournament. No Arisham is allowed, so it's going to be all legit decks. No shade to Arisham there, but it's a little unfair in a tournament scenario.
I would. Yes, I agree.
So I will be doing some casting on my channel there. $500 again on the line, and the finals, the top 8, will be on the twitch.tv/PowerOnGaming channel, casted by Super Tech God and Binks.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
One of the pillars of the Snap community. So awesome to see him involved. We're hoping to get a lot of eyes on the tournament, and hopefully if maybe we get some eyes from Second Dinner on the tournament, they can start maybe saying, nah, this might be worth investing in. A little competitive Snap. So the Crown this weekend, February 1st and 2nd. Be sure to check that out.
Very good. There you go. Check it out, guys. Yeah, you guys from Power On are all awesome. I've had so many people on from Power On Gaming, and everybody is fantastic. Super Tech God, obviously, for Sean.
Yep.
I've had a lot of people on from there, and yeah, you guys are awesome. So yeah, well, good luck. I'll see if I got where it's gonna be on Twitch. You're casting it, right?
Yeah. So on Saturday the 1st, I will be casting some of the qualifying games on my channel with Sino Montana, top 5.
Nice.
That will be at 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, and then 3 p.m. Eastern Sunday. The Power On Gaming channel, STG, and Binks will be doing the top 8.
That's very cool. Yeah, Binks is great. I watch. He was my go-to watch because I stay up late.
Right.
So, and he's always usually, but now he's changing his time. He said he's moving to the day, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to get the Binks stuff. His song cracks me up. Cracks me up.
That's great.
I die every time I hear that song. But yeah,
super cool, dude.
Yeah, he really is. I'm getting to talk to Regis. Actually, Regis.
That's awesome.
I was like, oh my god, yeah, I
Big
love
dog.
Regis too. Yeah,
one of the nicest guys too.
Oh my god, I told him, I said, I can't wait to talk to you because I just love the positivity that you bring to the game. It's
big time.
It's so cool, so
love
cool.
That guy.
But well, there you go, guys. Check that out, of course, on Saturday and Sunday on the weekend. Sponsored by obviously Power On Gaming.
Yep.
And I'll make sure that I'll tune into the Twitch channel too to see what's going on. That's always cool. It's always fun to watch tournaments.
Yes.
And they're fun to take a look at. So
expect some hype moments for sure.
Yeah. And again, it's fun to see that. It's fun to see that little tension going on, and all of a sudden, like the person who wins is all jubilant and stuff like that. Yeah, it's great to see that kind of stuff. So
yep.
All right, guys, I will be back on Thursday with an OTA review. And then otherwise, I'm sorry. Oh, geez, I'm forgetting about I have Kieran Nimbus actually coming on my show tomorrow night too. So I'll have him on tomorrow, Thursday, the OTA review. And then that will be it for the week for me. Wherever you may be watching, if you're watching from the YouTube channel, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave me comments. Let me know what your thoughts and that kind of stuff. I'll always answer them. If you're listening to it podcast format, I love you guys listening wherever you do. Please make sure you follow the pod. Obviously, you can leave me comments on any of the podcast formats as well. I would appreciate it very much. So that is going to do it for us tonight. Thank you again so much to Parry for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
And yeah, guys. So have a great rest of your week. Hopefully, I will get you and see you again with the Kier Nimbus video tomorrow and talk to you with the OTAs. Please stay safe, be kind to one another always, and hopefully I will talk to you all on the next episode of Snap Decisions. This is your Snap DJ signing off.
If only I had spidey senses.